John Doyle of OptixEQ, and I will look at past results of this past weekend at Belmont, September the 28th, races 7 through 11. I put a video together kind of analyzing the pick 5 sequence, and I want to just kind of follow up and show you with OptixPLOT 2020 what results look like too. So I think it's helpful to do this. Handicappers don't do this all the time, which it's always difficult to go back, especially if there's losses involved. But I think it's a good learning experience. The first thing to note in the OptixPLOT 2020, when you go back in after the results, you'll see like an order of finish box between right to the right of the header information with the horse's name, their finish position, also their odds. They're in finish position order. Okay. You also notice the plot is colored differently. It's colored with yellow or gold, silver, and bronze for win, place, and show. So the horses that finish first, second, third are colored that way. Easy to use. You know, if you're looking and say, where did the winner come from? Was he a square or circle? So this is a good tool. Below the plot, you'll have a graph. It shows you, how the running of the race went. So if you were to look at, let's say the winner in this case was the number 3. He started off in post 3, okay, Saratoga Treasure. Then he was at the start, he was 8th. He moved up by the quarter, he was in 7th, 7th at the half, top of the stretch 6th, and then ran home. So you can see, you can get a good flow too, in terms of the race. Was the race more on the pace, off the pace, just by looking at this. This one looks mixed. You have both horses coming on and off the pace. But I think mostly, the top 2 finishes came off the pace. You can just kind of see that. They kind of drop. So it's a good visual. If you want to just take horses off, let's say if you just want to click this and just see, the winner or something, and, if it's easier to read that way, and just you can look at it that way. Okay? But again, another good tool in terms of reviewing results. Okay, so let's go back to how we started this thing in our analysis. We said, did we have enough of the parameters I have, at least my parameters for deciding if I'm going to do a pick 5 or not? And I did. Based on my analysis, I was against the favorite in more 3 or more races. I only had 1 spread race. I'm looking for at least no more than 2. I did a tiering in the spread race. I identified 1 and 2 keys in each of the other races. So as far as my criteria was met, and I did play it. Unfortunately, I didn't hit it. But I'm just going to go back now and look at the races and see what I can learn from there. Okay. So where was I right? Well, the first race I was right. This was a race where we identified the 1, 3, 4 and 6 as contenders. We talked about the trouble of the number 3 horse the last time. And we also talked about taking a look at the odds in terms of identifying the keys. I did go with 1 and 3 as my keys in this race. The 1 had a terrible trip, total excuse, I have to be honest with you. But the 3 was a delight, went off nearly 7-1 and won the race and gave me a lot of courage going forward, a lot of confidence. We also were kind of iffy about Hollywood Cat. That turned out to be true. Of course, just, was kind of in and outer. And the one thing we were wrong about in this race was High Jingo lost the pace battle to the number 5 Stone Factor. So that was one thing where we were kind of wrong. But the winner was an off the pace square, which we had kind of anticipated. And you could see the 3 and the 4 ran real well. It was one of our other horses at 11-1 from off the pace. So we were right about race 7, feeling confident going in, but that's going to change really quickly. So we go to the Beldame, okay, and in the Beldame, we were both right and wrong. As you can see, the winner was Midnight Bijou or Wildcat, the 2 squares. The one thing we were right about in this race is that we thought these were the dominant horses in the race, so we were right about that. Now, what we were wrong is, at least where I was wrong, I had said that I was going to single, and I did Wildcat, just because I just thought there was going to be a huge differential in price. There was, and I thought I can get a lot of leverage. And I thought Wildcat had a legitimate chance of winning this race. So instead of doubling up, I went for it with Wildcat, and I'm glad I did. And so she came right up to Midnight Bijou, but Midnight Bijou showed her class and kicked on, and she just looked fabulous. Again, the race kind of fell into her lap, so to speak. She was kind of up and close to the lead, and you see she took the lead, and then The 6 likes to come from a little bit off. She had to probably make a move a little bit premature. She looks like she makes one run. She looked like she's by at mid-stretch and then just kind of hung a little bit. So, or Midnight Bisou was really showing her class. So we're wrong there, but we'll take that one. We'll if we can win more of those than less, even if we can split it, there'll be tremendous upside in value because Midnight Bisou was, I think, about roughly 1 to 9 in this race. Okay. So that was race 8. I'm going to move on to race 9. This was the Pilgrim. We talked about in this race, kind of focusing on the notes of the race because the plots were so-so. Just to point out the squares, though, in this race, pretty much on the turf. The only horse there was 4 squares. 3 of them finished first, second, and third. So that's just one thing to note in here. I focused in on the 2 and the 6, a little back up on the 8. 6 was really our key horse in the race, and I was surprised that he went off 7-2. I liked the price on the 6, but he had trouble again. So not sure that would have made a difference if he didn't have the trouble. But the 7 horse, and this is the one we talked about, Structor, and you got to make decisions on this. It wasn't that the information was good in this race, but Structor, had a perfect trip in our maiden. We had talked about would there be upside on this horse, and with Child Brown horses, it's just the guy's incredible. But she had the right trip again, and she won the race, and she was 5-2, a little short for our taking, but I can understand if you used her as a backup. We were kind of on the fence, and again, we were trying to limit spreading in races, especially with some of the other races where we thought that, there was just 1 or 2 horses that could win those races. So anyway, might have in the future, me as personally would have probably put this horse on a backup ticket. Wouldn't have mattered to me, but that's what I probably would have done in the future, just because of the potential upside on this horse. And the horse was competitive, and the big square, in quadrant 3. Okay. So let's move on to race 10. This was the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Pull this over here. And we were so wrong in this race, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the horses we were on were the 4 Preservationist and the number 1 Tacitus. And, sometimes you just don't know. I mean, I just expected Preservationist to be on the lead. I thought that was a real heads-up ride by Ortiz. I rode Ortiz on Vino Russo going to the lead. I mean, that was the right move. That's where I expected the 4 to be. The 1 was up close, Tacitus. It was in a perfect trip. Just didn't go on with it. And I'm just wondering, the last 2 races with the blinkers that hurt the horse a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked to see Tacitus remove the blinkers next time. But I was really disappointed in his effort. Code of Honor ran another really good race. The only thing with Code of Honor, I thought when he came up to Vino Russo late, he kind of just like that. I think that 10 furlongs is just right up against where he wants to go. And let's face it, Vino Russo was the winner of that race. So I don't know. Like Vino Russo hasn't really done much, but I mean, he's an okay horse, winning the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Sometimes in these races where it's tactics, there's nothing you can do about it. You could project all this. You could think of which horse should go to the lead, and for some reason, it doesn't happen. And that was where we were wrong in this race. But I would say that going forward, I wouldn't discount Tacitus, especially with the removal of the blinkers going a mile car. I still think he's a really legitimate 10 furlong horse. And Code of Honor, I think it's just right up against his best at 10 furlong. So whatever it's worth, I'll probably be wrong again on that race the next time they run, which probably will be the Breeders' Cup, I assume. Okay. Let's move on to the 11th race. I'm going to just move this so I can see it. Okay. So the 11th race was our only spread race of the sequence. And so what we did is created 2 tiers of contenders, 3, 4, 6, 8 in one tier, 5, 7, 10 in the other. And I was disappointed with a lot of horses in this race, but the 3 kind of ran his race, which is usually doesn't win, but finishes second or third. Some of the others really were disappointing. Bordertown, Perceive. So the 99 to 1 shot, which is what we had almost wired this field, the number 9 you see here, the first time going long on the turf, and almost got it done, but the 10 grabbed him at the end. So Chantry Flats came in, paid a good price, 8.4 to 1. You see going for gold, the horse that we just talked about, almost wired fell 118. So what we were right about in this race is that it was a spread race, and you had to go deeper than you would normally go to win. It was good that we had the horse included. Bushy would have had it included in Tier 1, but nonetheless, we kind of understood that we needed to go deep in this race, and we did, and we broke it up into tiers. So that was the final result of the pick 5. Now the pick 5 came back and only paid $330 for 50 cents. Not a lot of money to hit a pick 5. So we didn't hit it, but weren't disappointed. And probably going back, we probably do the same things. And so the one thing I would say as you go through this, develop kind of a winning attitude or discipline around these things. You tweak it. I mean, understand you don't just stay with something, but stay disciplined. Like what we were talking about, the number of favorites. We see like if some of those favorites didn't win, it'd be a lot bigger difference in terms of result. We just were wrong about the favorites we were betting against. But stay disciplined, follow your process, trust your information. Okay, some days it's going to be really good, some days it's not going to be good. But in the long term, if you trust your information, you'll get results. If you don't trust your information, then change your information would be what I said. I do trust my information. I only use Optix. I'm not saying that because everyone should, but I'm just saying that's what I use. I trust it, and I stay the course. 3, review your results like we're doing now. See where you were right and wrong. See if you can identify maybe reasons for the results, maybe biases you can use for the next time, trips, what have you. But this is the full handicapping process, and if you kind of do this cycle, it'll make you a better handicapper. It takes a little bit more work, but if you want to be successful in anything, you have to put the work in, okay?